Hi, weirdos. Welcome to Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange and unusual, disturbing and declassified, hinky and haunted, and everything in between. Each episode, we get to hang out and chat about something weird. And of course, this week is no exception. We're going to be diving into some of our all-time favorite segments today. We've got hauntings, we've got mysteries, we've got aliens, and of course, we have yet another declassified CIA operation that is almost too crazy to believe. You're going to be looking over your shoulders after this one, so throw on that tinfoil hat, rip your house apart looking for the microphones they've bugged you with because you know they're there, and strap in for another hearty serving of strangeness. My name is Ashley, and this is my co-host, Lauren.
Hello, weirdos.
Hello.
Thanks
Weirdos.
for being here.
Thank you for being here.
Hearty serving.
For our delicious hearty meal. I feel like we do need to address that the mood is dark. The mood is dire.
The mood is dark.
The feelings are the energy is low. Been a weird fucking week.
Ashley is having like a what's going on? I feel a bit off and I can't pinpoint it exactly. And then mine is rage.
Full
rage, but we are trying to meet in the middle and bring you the joy that
we don't have.
We don't have it. We're gonna fake it. I mean, talking to you all brings us joy, but you know, we're struggling.
By the end of this episode, we're gonna be laughing, we're gonna be having a good time, or maybe we won't, because actually both of my topics are pretty dark today. I don't know where yours lies. We should have made you do a derp corner this week.
Oh my gosh, I know. This should have been Lauren's derp corner just to bring up the mood. I wouldn't say mine is dark. Like, yes, there are dark moments, but I think it's a little more like, ooh, what's going on?
Okay.
So
I like what I hear. So,
into it.
Just to address it, in case you're listening to this episode and you're like, man, what's up with my girls? Your girls?
What's with them?
The world's weird right now. We don't know. I'm not magical and mystical enough to know what's going on with the planets right now and know like if there's something hinky going on with the alignments.
Yeah, we may need to message somebody who is into
need
that
to message
to, like,
an
share
astrologer
with us,
and be like, what's going on,
I
man?
need someone to say it's a planet. It can't be me.
This can't be me.
A planet.
This can't be my life.
Is there a shooting star that did something?
I can't be responsible. I actually stumbled upon a really scary TikTok today that was talking about this Apophis, the asteroid that is going to like narrowly miss Earth in 2029.
Very close, yeah.
There's one that's coming now too. There's one that's coming right now, but that's like,
also pretty close, right?
Pretty close. Like you'll be able to see it in the night sky, I think, maybe with like,
but not be in.
But it's danger. Not gonna. We're not in like the danger zone. The one that's coming in 2029 was on trajectory to hit us, and now as it's gotten closer, they're able to measure it. They're like, okay, actually, it doesn't look like it's gonna hit us, but it was like, huh?
Please no.
But also like, 5 years is plenty. I'm pretty tired.
I'm all right. Yeah. And also, I feel like everyone has said this since COVID, like with everything that happened between COVID and like aliens being real, like that any news thrown at us now is like, all right.
Okay.
You know what? Okay. And
I'll take it as it
taken
comes.
Out? Asteroid, meteor, sure.
An asteroid's coming.
Shoot it my way.
An asteroid's going to destroy Earth in 5 years. I can start smoking again. Look at the silver lining.
Get some Marlboro 27s right now.
That was a camel girl. Okay, well, let's get into
Camel Crush.
The strangeness. We're going to start off today with a segment I like to call
Declassified.
So I love the CIA and I love all their creepy little experiments on human beings. I love it. I love that they did that. Today I'm going to be talking about another CIA human experiment with some very familiar themes, plus some really crazy new ones. So,
ooh, Ooh, how do you even like find new ones?
I don't know. They've done this
Uh,
so many times. They've done so many horrible things to like the people of America, but
I
whatever.
know.
I'm talking about Operation Midnight Climax, which is a hilarious name.
That's the name of a porn,
That is the
right?
name of a pornography. If it's not, like, guys, what are you doing?
It should be. Yeah,
Pornographers,
somebody.
what are you doing? You're about to be
Pornhub,
illegal.
we are
You
looking at
need to
you.
make you need to make this
Do this.
porn soon. So, it was a decade-long operation that began in 1953, in which the CIA recruited female sex workers to lure men into a bordello that was filled with cameras and microphones and dose them with LSD without their knowledge. See, familiar themes with some fun
Okay.
new
Yep.
ones. So, this operation clearly was a part of MK Ultra, that program, which we've talked about
Hmm.
many times on the show. Earlier this year, other programs that MK Ultra, other operations rather, that the MK Ultra program held was Operation Chaos, where the CIA infiltrated universities, the anti-war movement, the Black nationalism movement, civil rights groups, because they were convinced that they had to be funded and directed and run by communists. Even though they never found any evidence, it still remained into effect well into the 70s. We also discussed Project Bluebird, which was basically their like Manchurian candidate operation. They were dousing our own military men with LSD and combining it with hypnosis to try and see if they could get control over a person's mind to the extent that they would do their bidding, even against their
Still
own
reeling.
morals and survival
Yep.
instinct.
Still reeling from that.
Yeah, that was a tough
Wild.
one. Jolly, fucking Jolly West.
Oh, jolly.
Like, mind controlling a person to assassinate the president or something weird like that. I don't know. Something
I
weird
don't
like that,
know
maybe?
who said it. It could be. It was just
It
an
was an idea they
idea.
had. Operation Midnight Climax was all about interrogation. They wanted to see if LSD mixed with sex could be used to coax sensitive information from people.
I mean, honestly, I would think so. That would be how I started the experiment. Like to be that like relaxed and like what is life? I would give up any
Is
information.
water wet? What are we doing?
Correct. Yeah.
We spent money to investigate this? Like
Yeah, like the answer is yes, you will get information out of people.
yeah,
What?
you probably will.
I
So
know.
you're such trash with your like sticker residue on the bottom of your wine glass. Your wine glass looks like every
You
wine glass
know.
I've ever owned. I know.
I can't.
That's how I know you're trash,
How
because
do
we're
you
the
get
same
yours off?
person. They have the stickers on
Oh,
them.
good. You're relating to me. Okay, good. You can tell that I have clawed
You've done
at this one.
everything you possibly
The
can.
dishwasher couldn't get it.
Only
Enjoy,
time.
listeners. It's a moon. I painted it. Okay,
I
continue.
painted it on the bottom of my cup.
It's my art.
It's my art.
Enjoy it. Don't make fun of me. It's supposed to be there.
I would
Okay,
never.
please continue.
So, in order to dive into this, I have to introduce you to a new creep named George Hunter White.
George Hunter White. That just sounds like a creep.
It's the three names, man. Every time someone does something bad, we're like, what's their middle name?
I mean, I think we've talked about this on the podcast, and I feel like I see it on TikTok. Like, many serial killers are three named men.
And you know why? Like, I thought about that for a while, and I was like, that's a weird trend. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, they probably do that with the serial killers, so that if anyone has the same name, like if anyone's name is like John Gacy,
You can
yeah,
differentiate.
you could be like, no, I'm not John
True.
Wayne Gacy. I'm John Jordan Gacy. John Jordan Gacy killed some boys.
That was really good. I mean, terrifying, but
horrible,
no,
horrible
and like
joke.
John,
bad taste.
Ted. Like, I'm trying to think, why are no other killers coming to mind? But they all had basic names.
Yeah. So Wilder's safe.
I've forgotten every killer ever. I had John and Ted,
John
and
and Ted.
That's as far as it went.
This is what we're talking
nothing
about,
else coming to
guys.
mind.
Something's
Mush
going
brain.
on.
We are not well.
Okay.
Oh my God, just go on.
George Hunter White. He was a journalist for the San Francisco Bulletin for years before he ended up taking jobs at the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which led him to work for the Office of Strategic Services, which basically eventually became the CIA. And what's funny about George White is that he was a son of a bitch when it came to drugs. Like, in public, he was a relentless warrior in the war against drugs, like against people who sold drugs, used drugs, very anti-drugs. Drugs are destroying the world. Never do drugs. But behind the scenes, not only was he a drug user,
Of course.
fucking hypocrite,
I feel like they all are.
but he was known for doing things like spiking women's drinks during interrogations and investigations, and he would give cigarettes
I'm already
laced
enraged. This is
It's
not
rough.
good for me.
cigarettes laced with drugs to mafia members in an attempt to get information from them. So, like, not only was he using drugs, he was like drugging people against their knowledge. Then in the 40s came LSD, psilocybin tea, and MK Ultra started up. And Sidney Gottlieb, who I've mentioned before, he was the leader of MK Ultra. He heard about George White's like whole drugging people without their knowledge thing, and he loved it. So he was like, "Hey,
That's my guy.
listen.
That's my guy.
I've been looking
love
for a
what
guy
he's
like
doing.
you. I love your work." And he was like, "I want you to set up a CIA safe house in Greenwich Village and help me with this cool new project I have. There will be drugs." And George White was like, "Hell yeah, dude. Count me in. I'm your guy." So he spent today's equivalent of $45,000 setting up this like pad in New York. Began posing as an artist and hanging around New York City's like bohemian culture, and would lure people into the location, dose them with drugs, and then just like see what happened. Just report back. Tell me how they reacted to these drugs.
He's like sitting in a beanbag, like, how you feeling?
Yeah, well, because this was like right when LSD and psilocybin and DMT came on the market. So like,
Yeah.
we needed test subjects. They needed test subjects. Technically, these people, I don't know if he was dosing these people without their knowledge, or if he was just like, "Hey, I have some drugs. Do you want to do them?" And then they would do them. And then he'd be like,
Right.
"How do you feel?" And they'd be like,
Yeah.
"I saw God." And he'd be like, "These drugs rule. Keep them coming."
Yeah, this is going great. Yeah, for sure. He was just infiltrating the party scene.
So this went on for like a year. And then MK Ultra was almost shut down entirely in 1953 when a high-ranking CIA chemist, Frank Olson, was found dead after he fell from the window of a New York City building after being dosed with LSD. And for anyone who isn't familiar with that story, it's kind of the most famous MK Ultra story, I think. They were able to cover up the cause of death and drugs all the way until like 1975. The program's already been shut down. But the Washington Post ran a story exposing that he had like LSD in his system. And then later in 1994, his body was exhumed for a forensic analysis, and they found his head had been struck multiple times before he hit the ground. So
interesting.
Netflix has a documentary. You guys are in luck. It's a series. It's called Wormwood.
Netflix has a documentary for everything.
What do you want to learn about?
We got it.
Octopus? We got one.
Oh.
Murder? Several hundred.
Bad roommates?
Horrible roommates.
I still am
By the
gonna
way,
shout from the rooftops
I
how much I fucking love that show.
Finished. Worst roommate ever. Fucking hell.
Oh my
Also,
God.
trigger
I can't
warning.
believe these people are real.
Do not watch Worst Roommate Ever if you don't want to hear about pets dying, because these fucking people kill pets like you wouldn't believe. It's like their second favorite thing to do besides murder humans.
Yes, it was in a few of the stories, but and I was like, we don't have to harp on it for too long, but the one where the woman was like out of town and the guy was like, your dog's got out, I have everybody looking, and then she came home and he was just like, I killed it. I killed your dog. I was like, I think I fell out of my bed.
What about the guy that got arrested, and then when he got out of jail, he got like pinned I don't remember what he got pinned on him. Murder. He got a murder pinned on him while he was in jail before they discovered it was the fucking other guy. That guy had his cats put down.
I know.
It was awful. So
Horrific.
seriously, like, don't watch that show if that stuff bugs
Don't
you. 'Cause
watch
it's
it, but
hard.
also
But
it
also
really
fucking watch it
consumed
because
my
it was
life. It's the
crazy.
best. Oh gosh. And
Okay.
that's the sick mind of Keep It Weird.
Hello. So once that huge thing happened where the guy fucking fell out of a the 18th story or whatever and died,
Sure.
it put a slight pause on MK Ultra's affairs because
As it would, yeah.
oops, they were almost found out. But once they knew they
Whoopsies.
got away with it, they were like, okay, let's open a new safe house, this time in San Francisco,
San Francisco.
the home of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh yeah, what was that funeral home that ended up being in Dallas?
The Golden Gate Funeral
Golden
Home.
Gate Funeral Home, yeah.
So they rented an apartment. I actually have the exact address. They rented an apartment at 225 Chestnut Street on Telegraph Hill. Windows that overlook the bay. It's absolutely gorgeous. And actually, fun fact, the last person who bought that apartment spent $10 million on it. And I don't know if they know what happened there.
Oof.
Before in the 70s, but.
And you're saying apartment, and you just said they bought it for $10 million?
That's like the people that own it right now.
But it's an apartment?
In the 70s. Yeah, it's an apartment. And it was basically the same thing, probably like a duplex situation in the 70s. I'm not really sure. Mm-hmm. It's the same structure, like it's the same building.
It's just such a large amount of money.
I'm sure it was not $10 million in the 70s. For sure. Yeah, that would be insane.
I'm still just that anybody can buy that now. I'm still reeling from that, but it's fine.
Having a little bit of money would be nice right now. Anyway, they hung up some cool posters. They gave the place some sexy lighting, and they outfitted the place with hidden microphones, and they installed a room behind a one-way mirror where George White could physically be there and watch everything that went down.
Okay.
Then they went out, they found sex workers, and they talked them into doing this work for them. They would give these women what they called chits, but they were basically little like vouchers that they could use as either get out of jail free cards if they were ever apprehended by law enforcement, or they could turn them in, they could redeem the vouchers for cash in exchange for them doing their business in this place. So the men would pay them, they would get that money, but then the CIA also would give them these vouchers that they could like use for things.
Okay.
If they brought them back to this place. And it was actually kind of a brilliant plan because sex work was illegal, is illegal.
Right.
So neither the women involved nor their clients would report anything to the police,
right?
Because they'd be getting themselves in trouble.
They're not going to tell on themselves, so yeah,
they're not going to tell on themselves.
And also, I mean, being offered this extra money when like they're already doing the hustle,
and you're in a safe situation because there's people there. Yeah.
Dang.
So it was actually pretty great for now thinking about it. It was really great for sex workers, I think, because they didn't give a shit that these men were watching.
Yeah.
They knew. But their clients had no idea and did not know that they were being dosed with LSD.
Sure.
Well, George White became obsessed with watching the sex. And he would like put in requests for the women to do certain things with the men. He eventually installed a mini fridge and a portable toilet behind the one-way mirror so he wouldn't have to miss anything. And he would often, this is a fun little note, he would often drink whole bottles of gin while working. What a job. Also gin.
I know.
Get
and
a life,
I know
dude.
some people like gin. I'm not trying to shit on gin drinkers. It just feels like a dirty bottle to be drinking for some reason. Who drinks
straight gin?
Straight gin. Yeah. Give me a gin and tonic with a little lime. I don't know. A bottle of gin.
If he was shaking up cocktails, that's one thing. But no, he would just drink a bottle of gin.
Straight bottle of gin.
Mr.
Watching sex act.
Mr. Straight Man, Mr. Drugs are bad. So anyways, like I said at the beginning, this went on for a decade. A year in New York, 1 year off, and then 8 years in San Francisco doing this nasty shit before They were shut down by the CIA's Inspector General, who literally didn't even know they were doing it. And they shut MK Ultra and their safe houses down in 1963. Even though what they did was extremely gross, at least we got a lot of great intel from it. Oh, wait. No, we didn't.
We didn't get jack shit.
No, we did not. We didn't get anything out of any of these experiments.
So this was literally just for George McCreeperson to get off with his bottle of nasty gin, jerking it with his red nasty face. I don't even know what he looks like, but I just assume. Men are trash. All right, well.
They never discovered a mind control technique or a truth serum, of course, that we know of. Who knows what the fucking hell they're doing there now?
I know.
That's what's so fucking crazy, is that like all of this shit that I've talked about on the show before, like the CIA still exists.
Right.
And the CIA is still doing stuff that we don't know about.
That we do
so it's
not
like,
know
what
about.
Kind of crazy
what will we find out
hijinks
about in 10 years, 20 years?
are they getting up to right now? So they never did find anything that we know of that we could use against our enemies. What they did learn is that it is easier to get something out of a man after he has sex.
Oh.
Which, okay, like we said, is water wet?
We
know.
Knew this. Does anyone know men? Like, come on.
Well, and also, like, literally, World War II was not that long before this. Like, we learned that in World War II. We had Betty Pack. We had Virginia Hall, Julia McWilliams. They were spies during World War II. They would have sex with men to get information out of them.
We know this is the case.
Case closed. We figured it out. So,
Yep.
Yeah, they learned that, I guess. They also learned different cool ways to covertly poison people. They would literally go to different bars in the city in San Francisco and slip drugs into people's drinks. And they used San Francisco as a place to test brand new drugs. We know that because when I did the Chaos book report and I talked about Charlie Manson, they were testing drugs on literally the Manson family before they moved to LA. But they were also just dosing random people in San Francisco.
Which is just so terrifying.
Insane. One former agent was quoted as saying, if we were scared enough of a drug not to try it out on ourselves, we sent it to San Francisco.
That's so sad and scary. Ugh. SF. You're
horrifying.
Going through it. Well, Jesus.
It was not the place to be. The whole like summer of love thing. It's like summer of love and death and drugs and
death, drugs, destruction.
America trying to kill you. To this day, the names of the people who were dosed, drugged, recorded, killed, and experimented on by the CIA as a part of MK Ultra, I feel like I say this every single time, but I have to make it clear, have been completely lost. Sidney Gottlieb had extremely strict rules about never writing down details of what they were doing in the CIA. The CIA destroyed all known records of this program in 1973. We will never know what happened to a lot of these people. But I did want to end this segment with a quote from George Henry White himself in a letter that he wrote when he retired. And I found conflicting things. Like some people said it was a note to Sidney Gottlieb, and some people said it was a note to someone he worked for at the narcotics department. I don't know. But there was a picture of the note. It existed. And it said, I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun, fun, fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest?
I can't exist anymore. What? She's got the flag again.
American taxpayer dollars.
This
well
is
spent
perfect
again.
timing for it because, like,
usual.
Jesus Christ, like, what is
Can
this
you
country? So perfect use of the flag, but are you kidding? Like, I feel ill.
It's disgusting. I know, and like the thing is like part of the reason that I've been feeling so weird. I feel like we could talk about it without getting political, but essentially what has made me feel so weird this week and so like kind of like off balance and like kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm not on the right planet. Former President Donald Trump, now presidential nominee Donald Trump, was shot at his rally on Sunday. The next day, on Monday, I went into my office, I went to work. No one said anything.
Right.
Lauren was in the fucking airport. It wasn't even on the TV.
No.
It just feels like, what's happening?
It feels like we are living in like not reality at all.
Not
And I'm like,
reality.
what is going on? And why are there so many suspicious details about it? And again, like this isn't getting political. It's like on all sides, people have a lot of questions about it, you know? And I'm like, where am I? What actually happened? I'm sure we will never know, but I'm like, something is
Why
off.
have we
Something is
moved on
weird.
from this so fast?
Everyone moved on so quickly,
Why
and
did
now
we
it's just
not know
become let's
anything
wear a
about the
bandage
shooter?
on our ear to Trump's rallies and like let's just keep moving on and saying he's a badass bee. And it's like, but wait, why was this not a bigger news story?
I
Why
have
aren't there more
questions.
details? What was happening to all the people at the rally? Why are some people seeing this? Why are some people looking real chill on their cell phone? What's happening?
What's happening? And like to go to work and have no one even mention it to you, no one say anything, and it's
How
just
was
like,
it not on any TV? Because this is the thing. I don't even know if I included this when I was saying this to you before we recorded. It wasn't like the TVs were just playing like game shows and like sports.
right.
It was on the news. Like there were,
Yeah.
every TV was different, but there were a few TVs that had different news channels, and everybody was just like, so the weather, right? Summer. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? And then a girl walked by me and I overheard a conversation of her saying, did you know Trump got shot? And that was how I found out. And then I Googled it and I was like, hello?
Hello? Is this not breaking news anymore? Yeah, it just feels a little surreal and I'm feeling a little off of balance. But yeah, so then when I had this was my story and I've had my notes written for a while and as I'm reading it I'm like, Lord, this
Look at
I feel
America
like this
go.
country is like an experiment gone wrong. It's gone haywire
Totally haywire.
and no one has control of it anymore. Anyways, let's move on. What do you have for us today?
Oh, God. Well, the government and undercover things may be involved. That is one of the theories, but
Oh no.
but that's just one of the theories, as there are probably many because it is an unsolved mystery.
That's always my favorite part.
I like when you sing and I do interpretive dance. It's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, Sam. Love that about us.
We have good times.
We have a good time here. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Some days are better than others. Go on. Unsolved mystery. I'm so excited.
I am telling a story, a mysterious, unsolved, what the hell is going on story about a family, the Lee family is their name.
Okay.
So, the dream of Steve and Beth Lee and their two sons was to live in the Black Forest region of Colorado. It's
Okay.
a densely forested area of 200,000 acres that was known for being quiet, peaceful, full of beauty, trees, hikes,
Love
water
that for
everywhere.
them.
The population is about 14,500 people, so not like crazy small, but not huge by any means. And so it is quiet. Everybody's pretty spread out because you're just like deep in the woods. And it is a community that is governed by El Paso County and is a part of the larger Colorado Springs area. Just to lay in the background here, if you're
I've been to Colorado Springs. It's gorge.
so gorge. And I mean, I just love Colorado in general.
Same.
But yeah, Colorado Springs, so gorge. The Black Forest also sits on the southern edge of what is known as the Denver Basin. And the basin is composed mainly of uplifted granite dating back in some areas 50 to 1 million years. And there is also a layer
Jesus.
of thinner
not
sandstone
expecting
and
that.
shale. I know, I was like, who?
50 to 1 million. That's a range. Okay.
And there's also a layer of thinner sandstone and shale, which allows groundwater to flow. And that is important to know as we come up with our theories: the minerals, the water that flows.
Oh.
It is the most extensive groundwater resource in the entire county, and one possible reason for the unexplained happenings that occur in this area. Mineral deposits, flowing water, they could be paranormal or supernatural conductors, inviting things in. So that's just something to like shove in your pocket.
Keep that for later. You might need it.
Steve Lee drove trucks for a living and always dreamed about Colorado when he would drive through it. And finally, he made it there with his family. And for 4 years, they rented homes in this big forest area northeast of Colorado Springs before finding a spacious 2-story log cabin home off of Swan Road in the thickest part of the woods. But what they were not told from the former tenant was that he didn't live there for a super long time. He believed it was cursed, that it was evil, or that somebody was stalking him. And he didn't mention it because he felt like he was delusional and only had himself as a witness. So he just kept it in his back pocket and tried to sell it because it looks like a storybook log cabin in a dense forest. And that is what this family was looking for. Didn't want to be ridiculed. This was the 90s. People weren't ready for the weird, in the way we are now. So here we are. So the Lees signed a lease in May 1991, moved into the house, and then barely, just slightly less than a year later, in 1992, they purchased this 5-acre dream home. And that was when the problems began. Within weeks of buying this new home, the gates of hell essentially opened up. I know, it's dramatic, but also...
I was going to say, that's so dramatic.
It is, but good Lord, I don't know how this family didn't move out sooner. Beth was quoted as saying that in that first year after purchasing, she said they would come home on most nights, and it felt like the 4th of July was in their living room and in their master bedroom. They had lights flashing, people stomping across the roof, the sound of what could only be either gunshots or fireworks exploding that were coming from essentially nowhere. They would walk around their land. They didn't see anything, but the lights were going off as if they were strobe lights. They would come home to this, and then just at some random point it would stop. And they, they're going to the fuse box and they're trying to do things and nothing is working, and they just kind of had to deal with it. And then it would eventually stop and they would just say, okay, and go to bed.
This is literally poltergeist.
I mean, correct. One night they woke up and they heard orchestra music, and their kids were fast asleep. So they were like, why can only we hear it? Because it was blasting through the house. But again, never found the source. This is in the 90s. There's not just an Alexa or a Bluetooth speaker playing. They were like, hello, good morning, who's there? No stereo, boombox, anything. That was never explained. And then strange things started to happen every day. It started monthly, then bi-weekly, then weekly, and then finally every day. Their life was just a living hell. They would hear chains rattling. The sons would say they saw weird flashing lights and shadows in their room. Appliances would be going on and off by themselves. Untraceable chemical odors were going off, and then it got so bad that they were even burning the family members' eyes and throats, and they were going to the doctor constantly, and nobody could find the source. Steve Lee firmly believed that someone was just trying to scare his family out of this new home. He felt like they got it way too easily, because they did, because the former tenant was like, get me the hell out of here. But he was like, oh, somebody set us up. And he started to get this crazy paranoia, and he's, calling the police and bringing people in, trusted people, friends and family in town. What is going on here? Is somebody mad at us? Is somebody coming after us? Because we are getting physically ill. We're not sleeping. We're terrified. And we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we're being attacked nightly.
Attacked. And the chemical thing it's so weird. The fact that it was they're getting the bloodshot eyes and burning throats, but nobody can find why. And he's from Louisiana, and he was quoted as saying, I had just enough redneck left to fight back against this elusive presence, no matter what it took, but I truly just didn't know what or who it was.
No liberal could withstand.
No liberal could withstand this torment but my redneck.
Go on. There's been a lot of trigger words lately.
Goodness. So he installed a state-of-the-art security system with video surveillance cameras and motion detectors all around the house, because he is we're going to catch this bastard.
It's like living with Bam Margera.
Yes, truly.
It's like we walked in, there was an alligator in the kitchen, and fireworks went off in the car when I started in.
Yep, and the cameras were on. It was all caught. We were pranked. I know. It was Bam the whole time. Surprise. Solved
Surprise.
mystery.
MTV presents.
So, yeah, state of the art surveillance system. They have, even alarms that would have like blaring sounds that would come off. And then, of course, some of the time the alarms would go off in the middle of the night. They're looking on the cameras, they're watching the tape back. Nothing had triggered them. Nothing went by. Why did the sounds go off? Oh, the security system is now working against us too. It's conspiring with someone or the house or I don't know, electricity, energy. Who
Burn
knows?
it down.
So it's
Burn
just going
it.
bad.
Yeah.
And over the next 4 years, they had 62 unexplainable break ins, quote unquote, as they put it. And they had to have the El Paso County Sheriff's
Break-ins?
Department open an investigation in 1993. And they ended up conducting 45 follow ups in those following years because, doors were getting unlocked and opened, security alarm countless times getting triggered. So they're like, we don't know what else to do but call the police. But every time there's no evidence of a crime and they go home again. But they came out every single time and it was getting ridiculous. Finally, the sheriff stopped responding because it was like, we can't anymore.
The sheriff was like, you know what? Here's the deal. You're on your own.
Sorry about
Call
it.
the National Guard. I don't know what to tell you.
It's out of my hands. So they have to hire a private investigator to figure this out. And in the next 2 years, they spent $40,000 on security and they used up like all of their personal savings, college funds, investments. Like they are just blowing through it because they're like like they're being tortured. And I'm also like, move out.
What are you doing?
Determination to stay there.
It's
that Louisiana
redneck
man,
blood.
Steve Lee. So
never give up. Never surrender.
About this time, as like they've hired the private investigator, money is gone.
God.
Steve is noticing that photographs and videotapes taken in certain locations on the property had light streaks running through them, and sometimes even translucent faces appearing on the film.
Ugh.
Film emulsion is sensitive to a wider range of the electromagnetic spectrum beyond visible light, which is why events can be caught in photographs.
Photographed on film.
Which is why we all get excited about orbs and different things. But 3 parts of the Lee house seemed especially prone to these unusual photographic events. There was an outside wall next to their satellite dish, the living room, and then the upstairs master bedroom, where they were also like seeing the flashing lights and the fireworks and all of those things. But they tried to document the activity even further. Steve borrowed or purchased every type of camera he could. This poor man. To see if bizarre images appeared, but no matter what type of camera or film he used, he captured, like, he thought he would capture something crazy, but it was always just like some beams, some orbs, and maybe a little outline here and there, and it was still just like, but what? Like, I want to get, like, he really thought he was going to get a human or an animal, so he was just like, what the fuck are these lights? Like, he was not thinking supernatural, anything. He was like, I got them now. And still, it was just like, here's a light. And
I got
like
these
maybe
vandals.
a shadow person.
Jesus.
Like he just didn't know what to do. So Steve and Beth finally agreed that like something is going on and we might need to start to become a weirdo and think, is it supernatural? Because like we're not catching anything, but we're getting like weird ass something.
Also, we have no more money.
Yeah, and we don't have any money, so somebody help us. So then they send in their pictures to the television show Sightings, which was like a paranormal phenomenon at the time. And again, because they're like, we have no money, but like this will be our chance because they will come to us and maybe we'll get a little money and figure this fuck out. So this show comes in and they have a whole team, including a Hollywood special effects technician named Edson Williams, who was examining their film and like doing a real deep dive on it because they have to rule out anything that could be logical. And he told producers after his research that like these light images would be very, very difficult, especially in that time. Obviously now you can do like anything to reproduce any of the strange outlines and just some of the unexplainable lights. It was like, this defies the laws of optics as I know it. Like, I don't think anything is being faked here. So Sightings sends out their film crew to the Black Forest, and they get on site and they document some of the weird phenomena. And they had a Minneapolis Ghostbuster named Echo Bodine.
Echo Bodine.
Isn't that a great name?
That's a really good name. Some people just blessed.
Cheers to Echo Bodine. Echo quickly identified a threatening male spirit in the living room, like within like 30 seconds.
Yikes.
And a more sophisticated thermal imaging camera showed the presence of the ghost as well, who, according to Bodine, was responsible for things happening here. And this presence considers it to be his place. Then Bodine walks around, like, stayed there for a hot second and was like, this room is crazy and this guy hates you. But then, like, walked around the rest of the house and said there could be up to 20 more spirits and there is, like, otherworldly activity. There is no doubt. This is monumental. I haven't seen anything like this.
Did he say there was a portal? They usually say there's a portal.
I know. I was like, we do get to that. I was like, this is just the first of many people who investigated. But she felt very uncomfortable in the upstairs bedroom. And she said it was full of spirits and not restful. And they were like, you don't say. And one of the sightings cameras mysteriously flipped off of its tripod and crashed to the floor. And an odd thumping electromagnetic interference was picked up by the crew's equipment and Steve's scanner as well, and which he kept on the nightstand. And then also in this room during the filming of a discussion between Echo and Beth Lee, both suddenly felt like someone was holding them down. And they said they couldn't breathe properly, like they were struggling to catch their breath.
Okay.
Then Echo wants to halt the interview, gets up from the table and is like, I can't even continue on. And Sherry, a member of the backup film crew, said that something went inside of her and her chest, arms, and legs went numb. She fell into a chair and started bawling, sobbing uncontrollably, full of terror. She said there was an unseen force, like something is in me. It almost took over me, but like I think I like got away just in time. So
how have
we never heard of this? And Ashley, what's weird is there is like not much on it online, but it's like everyone who lives around this area is like, oh yeah, the old Black Forest. What?
Okay.
But there's like, and yeah, and I was like, and I'm going to get to that at the end of it too, of like how strange it is, like the follow-up with all this. But she gets girl gets escorted off the property, and Echo is like, I don't think I can continue on. The sightings equipment, like the cameras, the audio recorders, they picked up a bunch of shit. You can actually look it all up on YouTube. There's like old sightings episodes everywhere. So you can like see some of the weirdness. And sure, you can say it was faked for television. Like, of course, everything can be explained away, but there are some weird, mysterious videos and you can go out and watch it. But basically the crew left like, no thanks.
I don't get paid enough.
Truly.
Do not get paid enough.
So they leave and they're like, yeah, your house is fucked, but we don't really know what it is. Like it seemed like there were multiple things going on. We have to get out of here. Yeah. And then like right after they leave, Steve got a photo back from his film that he shot during that same period. And it looked just like a white dagger, but in the form of light pointed directly at his forehead. And the next day he woke with a painful golf ball sized welt on his forehead. He was rushed to the emergency room in Colorado Springs, and a CAT scan of his head revealed no cause for the disfigured lump. And the doctors just said, all we can really do is give you meds for your pain because you're not telling us how this formed. So, like, this is really all we can do. And he's like, I don't fucking know how it was formed. But of course, they're like, sorry, bro. And he's just sent home. Sightings did return 6 months later, and they brought a psychic in. And his name was Peter James, and he said he thought there was a vortex on the property.
Okay.
He was touring the house and he was overwhelmed by a burning chemical odor, and then suddenly out of nowhere said, do you know anything about the name Howard? And Steve and Beth were like shocked, like jaws dropped, all the blood like left their face, because they have a dear friend named Howard who they had never mentioned before because they're like, why is he important to this? It's just our friend who lives like further away in town. But he actually was a really good friend. They referred to him as like their adopted granddaddy, and they'd known him for 10 years. And they start to reveal a little bit more as the psychic is like, Howard is powerful here. And the chemical smell is starting to become overpowering the more they're talking about it. And apparently Howard's son, they reveal as they're talking, Howard Jr. died of a drug overdose in the 1960s. And his best friend was a pharmacist, and the two stole prescription drugs all the time, got high together. It was totally plausible. But Peter James, the psychic, said, no, Howard Jr. is very much here. He's been trying to get a hold of you. He is a rift in space-time, as he referred to it on this property.
Sure.
And he wanted to make contact with his father to explain that he actually has been murdered. And nobody knows who murdered him. So another layer of mystery has been added to this fucked up weird story. And yeah, like still like nobody knows what actually happened. There's not enough evidence, so it's still just like, no, he overdosed, but this guy believed that he was murdered and they needed to find who it was. But they were like, no, we have other things to worry about. So Steve is obviously blown away that he knows this revelation and relates to the name Howard, and he's like, we definitely never mentioned it. But he was like, okay, I want to listen to this guy and see if he knows anything else. But Peter James then kind of left the Howard thing aside and was like, no, but this vortex, like the reason Howard Jr. is able to get in is because this property is a special space where there is like a rip, there is a hole, you are connected. And I've only seen this a couple of times before. And other people had said that Black Forest as a whole, not just this log cabin, had
I was going to say, it may be
energy.
the location, not necessarily the building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this cabin was like feeling the most of it, but it's like that's why that like water
fucking Evil Dead
Jesus
prequel.
Seriously.
God.
It does feel that way. Oh, like what's in the basement? Is there a journal? What's going on? So Peter James, he returned a third time then, I think without the sightings crew this time. He just came on his own because he was like, this place is crazy. I gotta know
get more of this cabin.
So he concentrated his efforts on the most active spot in the house, the master bedroom, and many events had been recorded here near the entry to a small closet in the room, as well as an 100-year-old mirror. Several psychics had pinpointed the closet as the gateway to the other side, and the mirror was an endless source of photographs of apparitions of floating faces, bodies. So James believed the mirror reflected the faces of the spirits going in and out of this gateway. And like some of the pictures were computer enhanced to show these eerie faces that were peering back in, and they all looked a little bit different, and it's awful, and I can't think about it too much, but there was an energy here unlike anything, again, he had ever experienced.
What year was this again?
This was in the 90s. At this point, this was like 95, 96.
Okay.
As like Peter James was coming back and forth and sightings couldn't get enough of him. Peter James, after this third visit, I don't think returned again, but he was like, damn, like not only this cabin, but like Black Forest as a whole needs to be looked into. Like this is something I've never experienced. Then after this, because there's still like, but what? A Hopi shaman is consulted on the Black Forest hauntings and says this place is a rainbow vortex. Again, piggybacking on the vortex thing, not even knowing about Peter James or sightings, and saying that this energy spot is one of only like 4 on the planet that connect our world with the next. And 2 that were referenced. Apparently there was one in Arizona and one in London. And I was like, okay, well, that's the next thing I'm going to go down the rabbit hole for. And they are very strong in frequency and intensity. And the Lee house, like doors open and close by themselves, the appliances, the lights, like objects disappear, the alarms, the shadowy figures, the disembodied voices, red, yellow, and white light worms are seen and recorded, as well as apparitions of an old lady, a little girl, a burly man. All of this was collected over the years. Some were seen in 1800s clothing, some were in military garb. Actually, Steve said quite often they were in military garb. And it's just like everyone who came there was like, oh yeah, there's a rip. And you are like right above it, I think. And that's why you're seeing the most things.
How lucky am I?
I can't believe
to have bought a house on a rip. On
this
a rip
would
in
truly
time
been
and
my
space.
nightmare. And again, I'm like, move the fuck out. I don't get it. People put up with way too much. I'm scared when like a creak on our wood floor goes off and I'm like, well, who's here to murder me?
Our pantry door is now broken for the 3rd time.
Does it just like creak open?
It's just, no, it just, if like we go to open and it falls off. I'm just saying like our pantry door is broken for the 3rd time in like the 2.5 years we've lived here. And I'm about to fucking move. So if
this
I lived in this fucking house,
I know.
This pantry door is about to send me to another state. I'm
I thought you were
fed
gonna
up.
say like it's like creaks open and you're like, this is
No.
my 13th reason. Like it won't stop creaking.
No, it's just broken and I'm done. I'm done. I'm over it.
I would
So
say
I
I'd
can't
be done
imagine.
too. Rip it off.
Yeah, I can't
Get out
imagine
of it.
living in a house with this kind of stuff happening in it.
It's too much. By the beginning of 1997, the Lees had spent nearly $70,000 trying to find the source of this energy, and they had collected over 3,000 photos and 400 videotapes showing all of this phenomena.
God.
And Steve Lee continues to this day collecting video and like still kind of trying to figure it out. And I imagine that he's like a little off his rocker and is just like sitting with a rifle and on his front porch. But
Gotta be.
They've truly brought in everyone and like nobody knows what to do with it. But what's interesting is Steve, I don't know what he believes to this day because again, it is very difficult to find updates, which like blows my mind. Like everything is from the early 2000s.
Live stream. Like, what are we doing?
I know.
Where's
all
your
you
blog,
can find is
Steve?
from the early 2000s, and I'm like, what? Where are these people, and what is going on? But of course, I looked up the address because there is an address given. It's on Swan Road. It is 8325 Swan Road.
We are just doxing people left and right this episode. We're like, the CIA bordello was.
I know. We did give addresses in both of our stories. With yours, they might be able to break in. I don't know. With this place, it is like so heavily guarded, surveillance everywhere, as we've talked about. Gates, like very high gates locked, and signs everywhere, like you'll be shot on sight if you trespass. So it's wild. And like from Google Photos, when you look up the address, like you can only see like the base of their long driveway and the woods and like random things here and there, and like a glimpse of maybe a log cabin. But
yeah, so good luck.
Good luck, everybody. People do still like drive by on the outside of the gate, but like there's just no way to even get close. But I looked it up on Zillow and Redfin because I was like, has it been sold? Where are the updates? And it still says the last purchase date was in 1992. And it was for like $120,000. And it is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, like beautiful log cabin in the woods. So it's now would be like $1.5 million, but they're still just sitting pretty because A, I think they've gone insane trying to discover what's going on here, but B, like also nobody's going to buy it because now everybody knows about it.
I actually, speaking of houses, the Uninvited, the Union Screaming House in Missouri, I was actually doing research for, there's a little plug for our new webpage, www.keepitweirdpodcast.com/book recommendations.
Love when you say www.
On www. On the World Wide Web. So we've started adding book recommendations to our website because you guys are always asking for that. And I happen to be looking for a picture to post of just like the cover of Uninvited. And randomly, I saw the address of the house. So I like Googled it. I just wanted to see and yeah, their front door has an enormous like private property sign on it. So like whoever lives there now is like, don't fucking come to my fucking house and ask me if I experience anything weird. I don't want to talk to you. No solicitors, private property. Please don't knock on my door. So I can't imagine. If I ever lived in a super haunted house, you wouldn't hear from me.
No, absolutely not.
I'm telling you. Actually, just kidding. I wouldn't be able to stop talking about it. You would know every detail.
I know.
Who am I kidding?
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to write a book. I'll write several. Yeah, I would have a live stream going, as you said. But to kind of wrap this up, the reason this is under Unsolved Mysteries and not Paranormal Paradise is because Steve, and I still believe like this is his theory to this day, as I was like kind of starting to say before, he was still holding on to this being a real person. And no, not a typical vandal prankster, because they, after all these years, had not caught anybody. But he believed it was the U.S. government.
Hey!
He believed the military was involved because of all of the visuals of the military garb. Mm-hmm. And he thought the government was using his family as human guinea pigs to test laser holograms and biological weapons for psychic warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Very specific. Mm-hmm. He was like, this is definitely it.
This is what the CIA is up to today. This is what they're up to. Scaring the shit out of some innocent family in Colorado Springs.
They knew the Black Forest community would be it. Because it's quiet. It's in the woods.
Who would ever expect?
Nobody explores the deep forest.
No.
And so they're like, we'll get away with it. This poor family. But, like, let's test them.
And everyone's going to call them crazy. No one's going to believe them. So we might as well.
Correct. He saw countless times, caught on every kind of camera thing he had, military fatigues carrying assault rifles on his property, and he spent hours himself trying to photograph and catch them, and one of his neighbors obtained a restraining order to keep him from taking any more pictures across property lines, because he was starting to, like, really push it, which, like, they had 5 acres of land, and he was still, like, going to the edge, because it was like, but... Which, again, is when I'm like, man, this poor family has probably had several nervous breakdowns. Steve accused government agents of cutting off the electricity to his home, and whenever it was vacant and they were out of town, he thought people were entering without being detected. Because they were cutting off the electricity, he thought they were spraying chemicals in the van and the truck, and it was leaving him deathly ill because he would still smell the chemicals sometimes when he got in his truck, which that was also interesting to me. It wasn't just in the house.
Like he was being dosed.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of like, wait, was somebody doing something? Because, like, you left the property? And he was, like, getting really sick. And he believed the secret agents, at this point he was like, it's secret agents for sure. They were following him when he would visit his mother-in-law in Gunnison, Colorado, or even when he went all the way to Louisiana, because he was smelling things, feeling things. Again, like, could be paranoia as he's starting to lose it, but, like,
right.
But I don't know.
Seems
like, it's very
weird.
weird that, like, the smells were even following him. So I also, again, will say I think it's so weird you can't find a ton of updates on this. And they're just, like, this closed off, I guess they're closed off shut-ins, still living in this house that hasn't been sold since 1992. You can't get on the property. You can only drive by. But, of course, there is all the hearsay of the forums on the internet saying that Black Forest is lovely. A lot of people go there, to hike and feel the serene nature, meditative state. But then the other half of people are saying, no, I felt like shit when I went to Black Forest. Like, something dark is brewing there. Like, I have never even been to the house, the log cabin, but, like, I don't go to Black Forest anymore. It feels very dark. Let's talk about the grounds that have, the water, the minerals, that mix. Like, that is just, like, asking for paranormal activity.
It's just a constant, like, energy surge.
Yep. And there was, Native Americans were on that land for many, many years, as they were everywhere before we were assholes. And, like, there are theories of it being, houses, beautiful subdivisions as they are now, and, like, the little modern houses with their white brick and black shutters. They could all be sitting on, like, native burial grounds. Like, we don't know for sure, but that is absolutely a plausible theory. And this could be a vortex. This could be a haunting. This could be the CIA. This could be, like, the best prankster of all time. Like,
how close is it to Colorado Springs?
It's in, like, the outside metropolitan area, I believe. So it's within, like, 15 miles.
Because there's a military base there.
And that is why he thinks the military part is true. And, like, why is everybody in a military uniform who's caught on camera?
Yeah, what are
even
they
if they're
doing
shadowy? So anyway, at first I was like, oh, a Paranormal Paradise segment. And the more I read, I was like, no,
I'm getting a vibe. Something weird's happening there. And I think the CIA is involved. Can I tell you a funny anecdote?
You opened with the perfect story, because I was like, the whole time you were talking, I was like, it's the CIA.
They're still up to no good.
Okay, fun anecdote, of course.
Do you know the song Secret Agent Man? Secret
Obviously,
Agent
yes.
Man. They play that song in Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls. And when I was little, I thought the words were Secret Asian Man, Secret Asian Man.
That's just upsetting.
I mean, it's not racist. It's just...
It's not... But doesn't it feel
feels like it
is?
is.
It's not. We are not canceling Ashley on this podcast. But no, that is just so funny.
If I have the balls, this episode will be called Secret Asian Man.
I know. Honest, that's what's gonna catch the views. Let's go.
They're gonna
No,
have
that
to
is
tune in.
hilarious. How old were you
Well,
though
let's
when you
see.
found out that
Oh,
those
that
weren't
those
the words?
weren't the words? Oh, fuck. Who knows? I mean, I probably watching that movie because I don't know. I feel like I only know that song from that movie. This was 1995, so I was 7. Secret Asian man. Anyways.
Oh, I'm just imagining you singing that out in the world and people being like, "Get her
I
under
don't
control."
think I ever sang it out loud. I think this was all an inner turmoil and inner struggle that I had to deal with
It
myself.
was just to yourself.
But I will never forget it.
No, nobody would.
I think I'm going to go ahead and do my last segment, even though we are close to the end, because we might actually miss a week. I'm not really sure how our scheduling matches up. Maybe we won't, because I'm going out of town. Maybe we won't. But just in case we do, this could be 10 minutes longer than usual.
Do what feels right in your heart.
So my final segment for today is one of my favorites, but also like the one that scares me the most. This one is called Terrifying Technology.
Terrifying technology.
Beep boop bop. Beep boop. 11011. One thing I love about doing this podcast is I get my topics from the silliest possible places. This particular story and subsequent theory I heard from comedian Dan Soder on the most recent episode of his podcast, Soder, with special guest Sal Vulcano. And Soder may have been high, but regardless,
It doesn't matter.
extremely fascinating. So the theory that Soder brought to the table is that basically he thinks that technology, specifically cell phones and the internet, is actually an extraterrestrial weapon meant to destroy life on Earth.
Go on.
Checks out. Checks out. So
Sure does.
you hear that and you're like, but also like he might be right. Let's explore that theory together, shall we?
God, yeah. I mean, Black Mirror. Come on.
So the crux of this episode comes a little bit later, but I did want to start at Roswell, which is something an insane person would say, but please hear me out.
I'm ready. I didn't even blink. I was like, let's go.
On July 7th, 1947, something crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. I'm sure you've heard about it.
What?
2 months later, 2 months after this, the CIA secretly forms. There's actually a really great book. I know I have talked about it before.
You better put it on the webpage.
It's on the page, bitch. It's on the webpage. The book is called The Day After Roswell, and it's written by retired Colonel Philip J. Corso. Now, Mr. Corso claims that he was assigned to a secret government program that provided some of the material recovered from the crashed spacecraft to reverse engineer them for corporate use. Now, this is a man he's a colonel in the United States military. At the time, he was the special assistant to Lieutenant General Arthur Trudeau, who headed Army Research and Development. The head of Army Research and Development. This was his main man.
Wow. Okay.
According to him, a few of the reverse engineered technologies that we were able to obtain includes fiber optics, which gave us the internet, as well as integrated circuits, also known as microchips, which gave us computers. And just a plug for our own show, season 4, episode 10, is called Friends in High Places. Joe dives deep into Colonel Corso and some other high-ranking government officials who have come forward. It's a really fucking good episode. So go listen to that.
We all love when Joe does a deep dive and goes hard. Like, you know it's going to be good.
You know it's going to be good. He probably gets mad. It's great.
We love it.
That doesn't sound half bad, though. We got space travel. We got computers. We got the internet. We got iPhones. Why would that be a weapon? Well, it does seem to be destroying our brains and society as we know it. As for our brains, one report showed that adults in the United States check their phones on average 344 times a day. And like, it's not really our fault. our society has built our entire lives around our phones. Check your bank account,
Right.
phone, email, phone,
Mhm.
social media,
Everything is on the phone.
Googling, ordering food, looking up directions. It's your phone, it's your phone, it's your phone.
My entire lifeline. Yeah, it's like everything's on the
Weather,
phone.
it's the
It's true.
phone all the time. Phone and internet usage is affecting our memories. We know for sure our short-term memories, at least, because we're able to test that. But we aren't really sure what we're going to look like, what you and I are going to look like in our 80s, because the technology is so new. It's evolving and
Right.
advancing so
Like this
fast.
hasn't been studied. Like we are
We are
going
the
to
guinea
be
pigs.
yes, exactly. Like they're going to be
We're
studying
the
us
test
and saying like,
subjects.
"Oh, nobody do what these assholes
Yeah.
did," because our brains are mush as we
Mush! And we've discussed this on the show too, so I'm not going to get into it, but our stress levels are higher than like
God, yeah.
they ever should be, because evolutionarily we should be living in pretty small communities. We should be worrying only about what's happening in our community, but we have the internet, so we worry about what's happening in every community and
Everywhere.
globally. It's a lot for our brains, and we obviously are not coping well. Bad news bears, the internet's not great.
Bad news bears indeed.
Well, that's the thing, is like we really thought, like, with all of this advanced technology, we're only going to be more connected. We're less connected. We're only going to be more,
Yeah.
our lives are going to be easier. They're kind of getting more difficult. They're getting harder. They're getting more complicated when it should be getting easier, etc.
Right.
And to demonstrate, and this is something that Soder was talking about in his episode, to demonstrate how dramatically this technology is affecting us, we have to talk about the Marubo tribe.
Okay.
The Marubo people live in the Amazon, deep in the Amazon. And for hundreds of years, they've lived in communal huts, scattered hundreds of miles along the Itui River. Some of the villages take an entire week to get to by boat. They are secluded. Their tribe was actually completely uncontacted until the end of the 19th century, when rubber trappers arrived and essentially led them to decades of disease and violence, as well, though, as the arrival of new customs and technology. They started wearing clothes. They started using firearms instead of bows and arrows. They started using chainsaws instead of machetes. At one point in the 60s, Sebastião Marubo was the very first Marubo to live outside of the forest. Like, he went to the nearest city, and when he came back, he brought a boat motor, which cut trips for them from weeks to days.
Can you imagine how mind-blowing that moment would be of like, that
What? We
what
can
is
go
this
that
moment
fast?
going to do? I have been spending so much time.
To that point, every technological advancement, even though some of the elders didn't love it, helped their tribe. It made their life easier.
Sure.
Then, in
Oh
2022,
no. But I was feeling happy.
Elon Musk
Ugh.
went to Brazil, and he thought, wouldn't it be cool to bring the internet to tribes in the Amazon? He's a thinker.
Fuck that dude.
Of course he did. He went to Brazil. He was talking to this tribe. He was telling them all the things that he could do. He was telling them about Starlink, blah, 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 blah. The Marubo's new now leader, Enoke, thought it seemed pretty darn cool as well. So he requested 20 Starlink antennas to transform life for his tribe. The cost was $15,000, an amount that they obviously did not have, but luckily word got to Allison Renault, and I do not have time to get into Allison Renault, but she is a piece of work. Anyway,
Save it for another day.
Fucking hell. She donated
Allison.
the 20 Starlink antennas. Apparently Musk just couldn't afford it, but this woman bought them and donated them.
Well, Musk is struggling, so
Financially,
like, I don't blame him. Like,
is
how do
struggling.
you even?
After only 9 months of having the internet, they fell apart. The youth members became almost completely uninterested in their traditions that they've held since the beginning of time. They are glued to their phones at all hours. The internet changed their routines so much, it started to become detrimental to the entire tribe.
Wow.
The tribe leader ended up saying, like, in the village, if you don't hunt, fish, and plant, you don't eat. So they ended up having to limit their internet use drastically. It's only switched on for 2 hours in the morning, 5 hours in the evening, and all days on Sundays. During those hours, wherein, this time last year, tribespeople would be making dyes and jewelry and telling stories and visiting with elders and shamans and playing, now they just crouch over their phones. And not only that, the tribe's not doing well. Like, group chats have caused gossip and drama. Some people have been scammed. First-person shooter games have begun very popular. Pornography has become a huge problem, and there's been more aggressive sexual behavior from young men that they never had problems with before.
Oh my God.
It's a mess.
They turned into America.
It's a mess. Now, there obviously are some positives as well. It's not all horrible. They've been able to coordinate between villages for the first time ever in this way.
Yeah.
Marubo teachers have been able to share lessons with students in villages that they couldn't reach. Everyone gets to, like, be in contact with faraway family and friends. Like, amazing.
There are, of course, positive. I mean, same to us. Like, there are many positives to the internet. However,
there's a lot of
heartbreaking with everything else.
Super negatives too. The biggest positive, obviously, is, like, in emergencies, being able to call in a helicopter when one of them is injured or bitten by a poisonous snake. Like, before, they had to use a radio, and they would, like, relay a message to the next tribe, who would get the next tribe, who would get the next tribe. Eventually, authorities.
Like, and how long does that take?
Things that you don't have to die from, you would die from because you're so.
You're right.
In the middle of nowhere. So it's
secluded.
It's saved lives. But it's bad. Inoke, along with a Brazilian activist named Flora Dutra, did promise to provide internet training, but no Marubo that was interviewed said that they had received any. So that's a big problem. Regardless, they plan to bring more Starlink antennas to the Amazon so they can connect even more tribes.
What can you say what the time span again was of, like,
9 months?
Yeah, it was under a year, right? That is crazy. And they're experiencing, like, what we all are experiencing collectively with technology, but it's been a slower advancement for us. But for them, it's like they went from 0 to 1,000.
Well, and they also went from, like, not knowing what was going on all over the world to now knowing what's going on.
Of course you'd be obsessed. And it's like, I would never want to leave my phone.
Yeah, now a lot of them, they dream of leaving the villages, which they never had before. And, like,
they know what's out there now.
It's a struggle, internal struggle for me, because part of me is like, good for them. Like, they can go explore, they can experience new things. But at the same time, it's like their traditions are dead. I mean, their culture is effectively dead.
Yeah, they've lost it all.
And, like, that's the thing. That's what's really sad, is the elders are like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to us. Like, it's over.
Right.
And actually, Inoke,
that's heartbreaking.
The leader, his father, who was the first Marubo to ever leave, like, ever, and come back. Wow. But he tells the story of Marubo's most respected shaman that had visions. This was decades ago. He had visions of a handheld device that could connect with the entire world. And his vision was that it would be good for the people, but in the end, it would not be. In the end, there would be war.
Sounds about right. How did he know?
But as of now, the tribes are refusing to go back to their pre-internet days.
Well, yeah, you can't. That's the thing, is you can't go back. You can't. Like, now you've been exposed.
Pandora's box. There's no going back.
Good Lord. And it's like the youths are so heavily influenced. So, like, of course, they are the ones getting so excited about this and not being able to be peeled away. And, like, it is so heartbreaking for the elders, who it is like, these traditions have been here for, like, thousands of years, and, like, I can't believe you're just dropping it. But that is how the world works. Like, we were once the youths, easily influenced. Now it's the next generation who, like, truly can't be away from their phone at any time, and everyone has a TikTok account, and it's just like, yeah, the youngins, they're gonna grab on.
So, if extraterrestrials did want to destroy us, do you think that they would spend time and resources blasting all of us with ray guns, or do you think that they would just drop some new technology, zip away, and come back and say, 1,000 years when we're all dead?
It's definitely the technology, and they dropped it in the most clever way because they dropped one of their own, and he's not even like hiding that well because he looks like an alien, Elon Musk.
Ha 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 ha, Elon. Sorry.
But whose laugh is that? An alien's.
An alien. We figured it out. You heard it here first, folks. We're the first people to accuse Elon Musk of being an extraterrestrial.
I know.
I'm
I mean, like,
sure.
literally everybody. Like, he's either an alien or a lizard person. But, like, this just only proves it even more. I'm just like, yes, it is an alien's weapon. And they were like, Elon, you kind of look human, I guess.
Go
and
down
his name's
there.
Elon. Actually, that's not fair. I don't know where Elon is from. I could just be disrespecting somebody.
He's South
right
African.
There. Elon, I know, but, like, Elon, to me, which is inappropriate, and again, you're probably gonna have to edit it out, but that sounds like from Xenon. I don't know, he might live in
He
space.
did name his daughter a bunch of letters and numbers, so
that's why I don't feel that bad. But like somebody in South Africa is gonna write to us and be like, Elon is my baby's name, and that's when we get canceled. So
cancel me. You know what? Do me a favor. Put me out of my misery. Cancel me.
We are unhinged
okay?
tonight.
I'm
Cancel
over
us.
it.
We're riding out. We're riding out on Elon's spaceship with Starlink in tow. We'll have the best internet access.
Yeah, we'll have the best Wi-Fi. 6G. All right, that's all the time we have this week for Keep It Weird. It's time.
We really lost it at the end there.
We lost the narrative. We're gonna spin the wheel. While I pull up the wheel, I would like to remind you guys to please join our Patreon at www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast and give us some money because it's hard and we don't have any. And follow us on social media at Keep It Weirdcast and check out our website. Now that we have our book recommendations page up, maybe you'll find a new book to read. There's a bunch on there and I'm adding more every single time one pops into my head.
It's the cutest webpage ever, and everyone should send Ashley
so
compliments.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/keepitweirdpodcast. Okay, it's time to spin the wheel. It's time to spin the wheel. Ta ta. It's time to spin the wheel. It's time to spin the wheel. Ooh. Bibliomancy, bitch. Bibliomancy, bitch. Here's what we're going to ask.
Bibliomancy, bitch.
We're going to ask, what's going on? Why does it feel... What's going on, man?
What is going
on?
Why do I feel
literally my question is, what is going on?
And that's it. With that voice. Like, remember that inflection.
What is going on?
What's going on?
I'm just going to flip to a random page that feels
Give it to us.
Right.
Give it to us, sweet book.
Great. Okay, this is not the best news.
Oh no. Oh no. Give it to me straight, Doc.
Because it said, what is going on? It says, and the funny thing is, oh, by the way, just so you know, Ram Dass, Be Here Now, aka Acid Book. It is on our book list.
We live by acid.
Page 92 reads, and the funny thing is, you're still not finished.
Oh, good.
And as far as the Buddhist is concerned, you haven't even begun the trip. You're still hung up on form. Because he says, baby, it's all an illusion. No matter how groovy it gets, the physical plane is obviously an illusion, all a dream. You go to bed at night and dream. You notice about your dreams that they're very real, and yet they don't have any substance on the physical plane. That's the astral plane you're dreaming. You're dreaming on the astral plane. At the point of pure ideas, sometimes very high physicists or poets touch pure idea. Sometimes music, art, a vase, a hieroglyph, or something gets so essency that you feel like you're touching God. That's kind of weird after we talked about that weird place.
Very weird. Very, very
By being in connection with that piece of art, because it's pure idea. It's the idea of vaseness. It's causal plane. The mind at the causal plane created that vase at the place of pure idea. It's the place where yin and yang manifest. It's the place where duality exists. The first place into form from the immanent duality in the unmanifest from the formless. You come into that place where there is energy becoming form.
Oh my God. That speaks to our question, what's going on? But also to
What
this
is going
entire
on?
episode.
But also the whole fucking episode.
Jesus Christ.
Cheesy Pete's, everybody.
Well,
Listen, good luck out there. I don't know.
nothing's real.
Nothing's real.
Nothing's
It's
real
all an
here on this
illusion.
earthly plane.
And guess what?
It's all smoke
We
and
haven't
mirrors.
even begun.
We haven't even begun.
We've only just begun to freak out.
Oh, great. So
All
that
right.
wasn't comforting at all. And
Nope.
But I guess it makes us feel more normal and that we feel strange because nothing is what it seems. America, America.
All right. Love you guys so much. See you soon. And keep it
Weird.